Bonjour, Joseph.
Hello, my friend.
How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, happy to be here with you.
Oh, well, we are so happy that you're joining us today because I know that your schedule is extremely busy. So it's really an honor for us
Thank you.
that you take the time actually to share with us your insights and advices.
Appreciate that.
Some people know you already, however, some don't. And so before you start, what about you tell us about you?
Yeah, sure. So I am a second-generation immigrant. I have no siblings. I have 2 children, married for about 8 years now. Yay, marriage. I very extroverted. I have a PhD in psychology and philosophy, so it's in the department or division of humanities. So really thoroughly enjoy higher education and teaching at that level. But aside from that, I am a consultant. I work in the philanthropic sector with my own nonprofit endeavors and charitable endeavors, but also leading Canada's first Black philanthropic foundation called the Foundation for Black Communities. And on my day job, I'm an actual high school vice principal. So I wear many hats, but they're all passion projects to me. So yeah, happy to be here.
Wow. And when do you sleep?
I know. Listen, I've been living off of 5-hour energies for a very long time now. I think I have to cut back for health reasons, but yeah, I don't sleep much.
Wow. Well, it's impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this with us. You know, we had a lot of discussion on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also within our partnership with Generation Chosen. And the question that always came back was why does representation matter? Could you please give us, in your opinion, why it matters so much for inclusion, for creating an inclusive environment, and for psychological safety?
Absolutely. I want to enter into my response by invoking a very famous and important novelist and theorist by the name of George Lamming. So George Lamming is a Bayesian writer and theorist, and he was born in the 20s. So he lived within colonial context and came of age, of course, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. He, in responding to the question about what does it feel like to live within the colonial context, responded by saying that although there was no physical cruelty, living in that context was the breeding ground of every sort of uncertainty of the self. When I think about the types of images he was exposed to during his career and lifetime, he probably did not see many Black males as writers, as thinkers, as prominent within his particular social context. And that, of course, probably had a very negative impact on his self-image. And so when he says the words that the colonial context was the breeding ground of every sort of uncertainty of the self, it makes you really understand that the lack of representation embeds and sows a seed of doubt and uncertainty into the lives of everybody who does not see themselves well represented within a particular space. And as a result of feeling uncertain of one's contributions, of one's humanity, of the value one has to offer any particular situation, you do not feel safe. And the type of safety you don't feel is psychological, which is interesting, going back to his quote, that it's not really about physical safety or physical cruelty. Every time we have a lack of representation within a particular institution, we are reinscribing a colonial norm, a colonial context that left many people feeling sidelined, marginalized, like their contributions are of no value. And so when I'm in consulting spaces offering advice on the importance of inclusion, but also how to build more inclusive contexts, I often speak that it's not just about putting diverse bodies in particular spaces. You need to ensure that the conditions of the workplace are culturally competent enough to acknowledge and value those diverse perspectives, those diverse representations of humanity. Because if they don't, you're going to have people walking around within an institution feeling very uncertain as to their place here, as to why they've been given the job, and also uncertain about what they can offer. And they have so much to offer. So I'll answer in that way.
Wow, wow. And I guess these diverse perspectives and representations are applicable to all dimensions of diversity.
Absolutely.
Being someone with a disability or
different
age,
sexual orientations.
sexual orientation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're talking about the wide gamut of diverse representations within our society. For so long, the story of what makes us truly unique and special has been told from one vantage point. And when we talk about representation and increasing that, we are saying that we need more authors. We need more folks being able to participate in the telling of the story of what it means to live in a North American environment, specifically in this context, which is by nature plural, by nature diverse, by nature multicultural. But far too often, that diverse experience has been told from one person's vantage point. So it's important to give the power of narration back to those people who for so long have not been able to tell their own stories and not being able to show up for themselves and their communities in ways that are truly authentic, right? So.
Okay, there are two words you said in your answer. You talk about people sharing their own stories.
Yes.
About being authentic, and we often talk about having diverse teams.
Yeah.
So in the context of diverse teams of an organization or even society, how have you seen in your experience the impact of representation on decision making, on problem solving, etc.?
Yeah, so there have been tons of studies that have been done over the last decade alone that highlight the benefits of having diverse representation on senior leadership, management, teams, and things of that nature. I'll cite one in 2017 that I really like because of the way it was crafted and the way it told the story. It was done by Deloitte and looked at top-ranking North American companies and looking at their senior leadership representation. And it highlighted that those companies that had diverse representation at those highest levels were 6 times more able to be innovative within their particular sector, 3 times more able of high performing or high achieving in general, right? So their productivity was that much higher than the productivity of other companies. They were able to outcompete. And then they were 2 times more capable of reaching higher financial targets. And so there is a direct material implication for having diverse bodies able to share diverse perspectives around decision-making issues and topics that are necessary for any business or company to function, right? And so, you know, when we think about why is this valuable, there is the dollars and cents component to it as well. But every single time you're able to capture the ethos of a generation or a culture by being able to reflect to that generation or culture people with lived experience, people that share in the values, people that make up the diversity that is that generation you're trying to speak to, your target audience, whatever it might be, then you're able to bring people into the story of your company, bring people into the story of the products that you're trying to sell, and also bring people into the story of where you're trying to go forward next. You need people to stand behind you. You need people to support whatever it is you're putting out into the market. And so if you do not have people within your organization that are reflective of the people that are actually outside of your organization, contributing, buying, tuning into what it is you have to say and do, then there's going to be a missed opportunity. Your efforts are going to not be aligned with the shift of perspectives and the shift of energy and perceptions of the everyday person that is really trying to find themselves within this society that has robbed them of the certainty they should be able to walk through their days with. The very same certainty that George Lamming spoke about as well in the 20s.
Oh, this is so rich, Joseph. I knew this was going to be so interesting. This is such a nice segue to the video that we're going to show, showing that it starts at a very little age.
Out of the You like me.
Are you crying, Day?
She's black.
Wow. Oh, this every time I see this video, I have goosebumps.
Absolutely.
What about
Same.
you?
Absolutely. I think of my daughter, right?
Oh, yes.
And she's at
yeah.
that age too, where she looks up to the Little Mermaid. So.
So now, just to conclude, Joseph, and it's addressed to our wonderful teams here in the audience. What do you advise each one of us, and we consider each one of us as inclusive leaders, to what should we do to foster an inclusive environment through representation?
Great question. I think that it's important for all of us to build our cultural competency and not rely on the presence of a member of a diverse group to teach us or educate us about cultural uniquenesses that exist within that group. Cultural competency is a key indicator of great leadership. The higher cultural competency, the better the leader, in my estimation. And so that means that you are going out of your way to more familiarize yourself with the terminology, the lingo, the understanding, the philosophies behind a particular group, how they see the world, their perspectives, so that you can relate to them in very authentic ways, in ways that aren't superficial, in ways that don't leave people leaving a conversation or an interaction feeling like they're less than or have to second guess or doubt your intentions, right? So we want to normalize our ability to converse with diverse bodies and diverse individuals in ways that are authentic and unique and special, and not just things that are surface level or feel like a mandate. And so cultural competency increasing is a very key factor. And we also have to consider that as we're increasing our cultural competency, the absence of that cultural competency results in individuals that represent diverse groups sometimes getting an opportunity from you or your organization and declining it. Maybe self-sabotage is at stake. They have a propensity to self-sabotage because they don't feel like they'll fit, they don't feel like they'll be wanted or be valued. And the other side of that self-sabotage is imposter syndrome. So the desire to reduce both of those requires us to increase our knowledge of diverse groups and what they've gone through and how we can better show up for them, because we all want to be allies at the end of the day, right?
Two important words, allies and inclusive leaders, which we all are or aim to become. So I would like to thank you on behalf of the whole L'Oreal team for taking time from your very busy schedule to share with us your advice, to upskill us on representation, and to give us such a precious advice.
Thank you.
So I wish you all the best.
Same.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.